Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining me in the module 2 of my Awaken Body series offered by Domestic Athlete. I'm Brian DeCastro, health and lifestyle coach and Reiki master. And this is 4 Pillars of Nutrition. So welcome for joining. Welcome to this presentation. I'm excited to share it. And hopefully this will be able to be applied in your lifestyle situation to align you with your future goals. So I'm just going to move ahead here. Purpose of the session is to introduce you to what I call the 4 key pillars to support your fueling strategy. So the 4 pillars of nutrition. I'm going to introduce those. I'm going to share a process of creating your own meal plan. It can be very complicated sometimes, but I'm going to show you a quick process on how to do that. We're going to learn how to game the holidays, because that's also the theme of why I'm bringing this presentation out right now. Is we're going into a time of the year where there's a lot of indulging, celebrating, and quite often people will put on a few pounds after the holidays if they don't plan accordingly. So we're going to learn how to game the holidays a little bit and basically enjoy the good times and bring the new year in guilt-free. So when you go into the holidays with a plan, which now is the perfect time to do that, you'll be able to enjoy all the great stuff that you get to eat during the holidays, but also have a game plan to not have it set you back in your existing program. So that's the main purpose of the session today. Little overview. I'm going to do an introduction of myself along the lines of this topic of nutrition and how I've come to discover these 4 pillars. We're going to go into the 4 pillars of nutrition. We're going to apply it through a small little exercise I'd like to share with you. And then we'll go into discussion. And then whatever the next steps are, we'll go from there. Okay, so that's basically an overview of tonight. And a little disclaimer. 1, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a registered nutritionist. However, I did go to school in college that did cover a nutrition program. So I can navigate the conversation in nutrition, but I don't diagnose anything, any food allergies or anything like that. I don't diagnose anything, and I don't prescribe any meal plans. I don't tell people what to eat. I help people work through their existing situation and help them navigate within their lifestyle. That's what I'm qualified to do, along with the exercise piece and the energy medicine through Reiki. So what I do is I help people get clear on the first step. We'll do that today. I help guide people and direct them through their situation. Often when I'm working with people, they're sometimes sending me pictures of meals, plated meals, and I can give them feedback on it, and they can make adjustments accordingly in real time. So that's an example of how I guide and direct people. And I can help you navigate within your own situation. So some people have crazy schedules, shift work, whatever it is. Some people are not breakfast eaters and some people are. There's a lot of different situations for different people. And I like to work within those parameters to help optimize your existing situation. So the introduction here, part of the reason why I never really got too into nutrition is because I was actually a hard gainer growing up. I was skinny growing up. I played a lot of sports. I was burning calories like crazy. So my thing was always more about putting on weight. At the time when I didn't know what I was doing, that involved a lot of like just drinking protein shakes and eating lots of junk food. So later down the road, one of the first challenges I had with connecting with clients was the fact that I could not relate to them not being able to lose weight, because I never had to lose weight before. So part of my challenge was to really understand what was going on there. And at the time, I would say in my 20s, it was hard to, like, I didn't quite get that a lot of that was emotional and mental mindset and a whole bunch of other things. So there was a few more hoops I had to jump through in life to learn a little bit more about how to relate with my clients, having not gone through this challenge of trying to lose weight. But however, what did happen when I started to dial in on body composition, which would have been probably later in life, or occasionally when I was powerlifting, I had to do things to drop weight to get into a weight class. I did pick up on a few things, both in food combinations and how to like put my meals together, but also how to be in that sweet spot of like knowing if I'm actually in a calorie deficit or not, in order to get my weight down so I can actually show up at the competition and weigh in correctly. So later in life, after 40, I really actually started to care about my body composition more, because it got a lot harder to keep a lean physique. And I just wanted to play around and see what was possible. And I managed to learn a lot of things, and I'm going to share that with you today. That's how I discovered the 4 pillars of nutrition, which I call like these 4 pillars, I believe exists in every diet. In my point of view, if you look at any diet that works, these 4 pillars seem to be evident in my point of view. So I'll talk about that today. And I'll share a little bit more on how I upgraded the way I deliver to clients now that I know this component of my program, of my services and stuff that I can help them with, which has been very significant for some people to be able to access the understanding of this for their own situation. So this picture here is in November 2017, around this time in 2017. This is not an isogenics presentation, but at the time I did use isogenics. I was trying it out, and this is after the entire year from January to November. I was experimenting with a bunch of different things. I was doing intermittent fasting. I was following kind of like a zone diet and keeping my protein up, but there was no real rhyme, or there was no real like system that I was using to get to where I got in the first picture here, which was day 0. I did get in better shape, but I was kind of just still stuck at that space. So I went on this program, which had the 4 pillars that seemed to fit. And it fit for me in a way that it was able to produce the results. So these pictures here are done in 30-day chunks. It disappeared. So day 0, day 30, day 60, and day 90. So I'm actually, in all of these pictures here, I'm the lightest on day 90. So I got all the formulas right this time, and I managed to discover a way that I can actually continue feeling optimized in my lifestyle and health into my late 40s. So this is what I'm going to share with you today. So moving ahead, 4 pillars of nutrition. These images here represent these four pillars. So what I'm going to go through really quickly what these 4 pillars are. Pillar 1 is the quality of the food. That's represented by this apple on the tree here. So it's natural, it's whole, and it comes from the planet as it is. Pillar 2 is the quantity. So I got some food on a scale here. So it's the amount of food that we're eating. Is it enough for what we're doing? Is it too much? Is it on point? So the next one is planning. So these meal plans here, you might have seen this. I don't do this myself, but I know people that do this, that have all their meals laid out and it's all set out, portioned out. This actually, after you do the front end work on this, there's no thinking involved for the rest of the week. And that creates the consistency that you're looking for, so your body can get into a regulated plan. The 4th one, which is often shared in the book to compel you to read it, but often we forget about, is purpose. So quality, quantity, planning, and purpose. Purpose is the application of which all the results you get from eating the right foods in the right amounts and planning properly and putting in the work and being disciplined Purpose is about where it's leading. Where is it going next? And purpose can exist in the macro and the micro. So the next meal could be what we're talking about, or what the next 100 meals mean in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to elaborate a little bit more on these pillars. While you look at these 4 pillars here, also pick one. Which one of those pillars sticks out for you as far as the area that might have the greatest potential, the one that you need to work on the most. This can also help. This will help in the exercise we're going to do tonight. So write down which one of the pillars that you think you could probably use the most help in. So the first one is quality. What are you eating? So think about the foods you're eating, where you're getting them from. Are they natural? Do they look like the way they look when they came from the earth? Not all the foods will look that way, but basically whole foods, natural foods is basically the best way to get our nutrition, okay? What you eat next will be building the cells for the next mission. So whatever we put in our bodies is providing our body with what is required to build out cells, do processes in the body, create energy, all those different things. So is that coming from like a Big Mac, or is that coming from like a chicken salad or something full of like spinach and vegetables and things? So what is it that we're consuming that's going to be creating our cells? The third thing is the nutrition we are consuming supports optimal health performance. So it may not, you could have a perfectly clean diet, but it might not necessarily mean you'll lose weight. The next pillar plays a big part in that as well, along with quality. So quality, for the most part, will support your health. Sometimes you'll get a weight loss or a body composition change if you've removed foods that are causing reactions in your body. So there's a lot of different things at play, and I'll do my best to try to not make this complicated, because it can get complicated fast with this topic. So the quantity pillar is how much are you eating? Okay, so
call me at 8:30.
the volume of food that we're eating and consuming, does it match your goals? Okay, so I'm just gonna mute here. Does it match your goals? So if you're trying to lose weight, there'll need to be a deficit of some kind in your weekly target. If you're trying to gain weight, it's the same. You want to be in a surplus. Eventually, when you find your system that works, you're going to also find the sweet spot that allows you to just maintain and be in a comfortable place. And you don't have to count calories all the time, but it's a great exercise to do, to learn what you need to be eating and how much of it. So the right caloric balance will support your body composition and available energy to deliver on daily and performance-based tasks. So planning is when we take the first 2 pillars and we sort of put them into practice. So when are you eating? Are you a breakfast eater? Yes or no? Are you eating really late into the night? Are your meals scheduled in some way? Is your lifestyle scheduled in some way that's causing you to not eat at specific times? And have you eating meals when you're really stressed out? And if you eat meals when you're really stressed out, there's a whole hormonal imbalance that's happening that could be causing more challenges with your goals. So when are you eating? You want to be eating usually in a planned scenario where it's relaxing, you're calm, you don't feel like you're rushed. You want to allow digestive processes to happen. So that's a big part in the planning. Also, the structures and systems support your success long term. So it eliminates the thinking. Planning tends to eliminate the thinking if you plan ahead of time. And the habits we have are inevitable. We're going to develop habits. It's whether or not we're actually building the habits or intentional about our habits. So the right habits can be built. So whatever habits you need to achieve your goals, those can be built out, just like how our bad habits were built out through repetition. We just weren't aware of it most of the time, but you can rebuild new habits, and that's through your planning. So purpose is the one that I get excited about because this is the one that makes sure everything plays out. Why are you eating it? So why are we eating what we're eating? So if I'm sitting down on a Friday night with takeout, and there's also like a pie in the oven after that meal, you know, why am I having a meal like that? Maybe it's to celebrate something. Maybe it's kind of a cheat night where I'm like, you know, just having some friends over and enjoying a fun meal. Or is this a type of meal that happens every single night, right? So why are we eating it? There's always a reason or an intention. Again, it's not always conscious. It's not always something that we're aware of. We're sometimes just doing it. It's just an emotional trigger, or we're actually planning it. So why are we eating it? You know, what is your goal and vision? You know, where do you want to end up? And where is all this going? So it is not easy to break old habits and build new ones at first. And it's going to be uncomfortable. So while you're dealing with this discomfort, what will keep you going is knowing where you're headed with it, right? And what impact will that have on your life in the future when you achieve your goals? What will that look and feel like? Okay. So the intention can be very important from one meal to the next. It is important to allow space to be self-aware and present when you engage with your food. I know people too that will, you know, like people who have a spiritual or religious upbringing will say grace before meals, which is a way to bless the food, show gratitude and appreciation for what you have in the food that's in front of you, which is actually, I believe, as a Reiki master at the energetic level, is a healthy way to start the meal. If you're not religious in that sense, you could even just sit in front of your meal and just pause for a moment of gratitude that you have the meal there. That's another sort of micro level way to kind of pause for a moment and appreciate what the food offers and what it's giving you and putting into your body, so you can do things with it, which also connects us to earth. It connects us to nature. It connects us in a way. So purpose can go really be very practical, but it also can be very deep if you want to, you know, expand it into more of a spiritual connection with the planet. It really does change things for people, especially people that decide to, like, you know, maybe some people decide to become vegan for a very spiritual reason, or there's a lot of different reasons why we do what we do and eat what we eat. So it's good to be attuned and updated in your own value system on what that is for you, because that will be also a guiding light. So putting these 4 pillars into action, this is the exercise I was describing earlier, is, like I mentioned before, pick just one. I'm going to open the chat here so you can keep an eye on it. But if you wish to, you can also drop which one of the 4 pillars in the chat that you're looking to impact if you're to build out something. For me, it's usually planning is one. Someone just threw up planning. For me, I would say quality was a big one for me at first, but I've really tuned into that. And when I adjusted my quality, it automatically adjusted my quantity. And then when I was looking at it long term, I had to build structures in place so I was able to achieve, you know, where I was headed. I was always pretty aligned with purpose and knowing where I want to go. But sometimes how I want to get there is the thing that has affected me. So we got planning, we got purpose again. This is a very common one. Again, like I find in the books they write about this to compel you into following the program, but I find sometimes it's not as easily explored through reading a document and just following their program. So, and we're always upgrading on this. We're always being given the opportunity to challenge our purpose or direction we're going, and building on it and upgrading. So once you pick just one, you start with the first pillar. Okay, so in this case, if purpose seems to be showing up a lot for the guests of tonight. So in the back of your mind, think of, you know, where you want to end up, maybe first 90 days, you know, what would it look like in the next 90 days if you had it all your way, right? And then you backload that to what do you need to do now? So with purpose, look at the next, the second most urgent pillar aside from purpose, and that will be your gateway to starting your program. So aside from purpose, which one would be next? Would it be quality, quantity, or planning? Because that one will be applied to sort of your grander vision as well. So you pick the first pillar that you're going to work on. This can begin in the next 24 to 48 hours, and then you allow room to explore and grow. So quality. So quality is another one that came up. Okay, so when you think about it, in the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe you're not grocery shopping in the next, 24 to 48 hours, but even with the food you have in the house right now, with regards to quality, there's probably better choices than others that you can create meals with and explore with. So planning also just came up there as well. So planning, we can go into that as well, where I usually tell people with planning, look at your existing lifestyle where you run into the most problems with meals. Which one of your meals, you can also share this, which one of your meals are the most problematic? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, pick one, and just, you're basically building out a model from the one. Okay, so quantity and quality are very popular as far as the pillars that we might be working on. So this is the exercise. Step one, pick one meal of the day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you want to make it simple. So you're going to take, say, for example, someone just threw up dinner. Okay, so what you would do is create 2 to 3 options for dinner. So some form of protein, some form of carbohydrate for fuel. So it might be some sort of starch, and then vegetables of some kind. So an example, so say chicken with a little bit of rice and some steamed broccoli. That could be meal 1. Okay, meal 2 could be a small piece of steak with some potatoes and let's say a salad on the side. So that's meal 2. And then you come up with a third meal. So you have these meals already set up and you just rotate them. Okay, so once you get that working with one meal, you apply the same model to the lunch and the same model to the breakfast. And you'll find that lunches and breakfast tend to be easier to put together. Where they end up being problematic is for lunch, for example, for a lot of people who are working schedule, quite often you're not entirely relaxed because you're still in the middle of your workday. You could be on the fly, you could be grabbing something from the drive-through. There's all kinds of things that could go wrong if you don't pack your own lunch. With breakfast, some people aren't breakfast eaters. Some people are in a rush in the morning. Some people are usually, if they're not aware of it and they're eating breakfast in the morning, I found when I was doing diet logs with people, they were consuming a lot of sugar in the morning through cereals and dairy products and a whole bunch of stuff that tends to carry a lot more sugar than we think. And it throws their insulin off and throws things off. And that's, you're craving like mid-morning, or I used to always kind of fall asleep in class in high school because I used to eat that way as well. So there's pretty common things that happen with lunch and breakfast, but those can be easily built out as well. So basically it's a rotation diet, right? So you can build out 2 or 3 meal plans for each meal and just set it up as a model. You put it up on the fridge, you have them there, eliminate. It will almost be so simple to the extent that it might seem redundant, but once it's on the fridge, it eliminates the thinking, and you don't want to be standing in the middle of the kitchen at 5:30, 5:45 p.m. after a full workday and having to make a decision on something. Part of the reason why things fall apart from the planning side of things is we put ourselves in situations where we got to make a decision and we're mentally fatigued and hungry and potentially craving. And if we had a really shitty day, we were probably maybe emotional at the time. So we're looking for some sort of comfort. So when the meal plans are up on the fridge, or when it's planned in advance, it eliminates the thinking, especially when you have the foods items ready to go in the fridge. One of my favorite things to do is cut up a ton of like salad ingredients, a ton of lettuce, clean it, wash it, chop it up and put it in the fridge, chop up a bunch of peppers and things, and I could create a salad without having to chop it up every single time. And it's just ready to go. And you might have some meat cooked on the side you can put on top of it. And it's really fast, and you can make a giant one. It's very satisfying. And it takes like minutes to do. So it takes very little effort to have these things set up in advance. So this is how you build it out, one meal at a time. And then you try it, see what works, what didn't work, tweak it, make some changes, repeat and rotate. So that's pretty much how I've come to do this without really splitting hairs. The only time I tend to go into more detail is when people are dealing with some challenges. They've checked off all the boxes and they're doing everything correctly, and for some reason it's still not working. I suspect there might be a food allergy of some kind or something going on. And that's when I refer out to people in my networking team that have specialized training, whether it be a nutritionist, holistic nutritionist, functional medicine doctor, some sort of person that can do allergy testing, or naturopath. There's all kinds of people that you can go see for more complicated cases. But I find most of the time, people are just not doing these 4 pillars or even the first 3 pillars. So I like to help eliminate some of those things first before we look at anything more detailed. So final thoughts. I tend to believe all programs or diets that work have a system of some kind. This is also exercise programs as well. You need a system to follow, or else there's not enough consistency and learning involved in making progress. The next one is the system that is ideal for us is the system we are likely to follow. So if you hate meat, you don't want to go on the carnivore diet. It's not going to work. You don't want to be on keto because that's not going to work. The diet works, but if that's not something that's a fit for you, it's not likely to work. So don't get sucked into, you know, your friend at the office that lost 30 pounds on keto. If you're not likely to follow it, it's not going to work. Same thing with the workout program as well. Your fueling and formula needs, the needs that you have will change as your body changes. So quite often we generate a calorie target based on your body weight. So as your body weight goes down 10 pounds, 15 pounds, even 20 pounds, you're going to have to adjust mathematically your caloric targets. If your exercise output goes up, you might have to factor in the right fueling for that as well. I've also found when I was powerlifting 4 days a week, I craved red meat and protein. When I quit powerlifting, got into CrossFit and started running more, I started eating more carbohydrates. So it depends on what you're up to, is how you're going to be fueling as well. For the most part, you also want to have a decent enough amount of protein to keep your lean body tissue and muscle. We all tend to have lasting and meaningful results when we know where we are really intending to go with our efforts. So that's that fourth pillar, purpose. This happens in business, this happens in sports, this happens in a lot of different endeavors we get into. This is really huge for me because I found that even in school, I didn't really care about my grades until I knew why I needed to get an A in something. And then I started to try. It wasn't enough for me to just compete to get the A. It wasn't a driver for me, right? So I need to know that I needed those A's or B's or whatever it is I needed to get into the college I needed to get into, so I could make a living doing something I really loved. That changed the game for me. If the guidance counselor said that in grade 9, I would have had way better grades in high school. So that's it for now. I guess I could pause here and we can open it up for questions.